Let's move on and talk. Something else that Rich brought up was Steam VR 2. That just got announced alongside Meta Quest 3, which is $500, and it's coming out like in a couple of weeks, which is kind of fast. I didn't realize it was going to be so quick. Anybody here pre-ordering that? Because I'm thinking about it. Carrie, you're shaking your head yes?
Yeah, so my son plays with his Quest 2 quite frequently, so I'm going to be getting the Quest 3 for him for Christmas. So that's like a single Christmas gift that we're going to get him, like just to have a nice big Christmas gift. So we're going to get him that, and then I'll probably take the Quest 2 and then give it to my daughter, because every now and again she just wants to play when he's playing or whenever she has friends over, so there's like things like that. But the Roblox client is now being ported over to the to Quest. So my son has been playing it through Oculus Air Link, with a wireless way to stream from PC to headset. So he's been playing a lot of Roblox VR and other VR games. So he's in it, and we made his room to have like a VR space. So that's the reason why I'm getting it, but I'm very curious how the optics are and the resolution. So I'm very curious about it, especially with all the other stuff that they have. They don't have eye tracking like the Quest Pro has. So I'm wondering how that's going to work, especially with the MR stuff, if you're going to be doing like virtual conferences and stuff. It's all very, very interesting. But yeah, it's kind of weird to see the Quest 3 coming out. But also, from our point of view, seemingly like Valve has been gunning it to make something, like have news somewhere for this, because they need to compete in some way. So it's odd that we haven't heard anything from Valve. But yeah, the problem I think for me is that I think a lot of people are looking at the Quest 3, especially with Oculus Air Link, which is amazing. Not using playing PCVR via wireless is so good that I don't want to ever have a cable ever again, because I play on the Quest 2 and it's so freeing and nice. I have the Valve headset right over here.
Index.
Yeah, the Index. I have that over there. That I have space that I've created in my studio to do it, but it's always getting cluttered with other stuff, so it's always something that's happening. But having inside-out tracking, wireless, all those types of things are like make playing VR so much easier to just jump into. So for me, I think that there's also a lot of people that are just, I'm just saying this from my spell, like all the people that are like us, right? Like that are in the scene and knowing what's going on. I think that a lot of people have been waiting on Deckard, or Deckard-like, something that Valve is going to be doing as an update to the Index with something else, just something better. And the Quest 3 might be a purchase that they make because they're just tired of waiting and they want something to fill that gap that is a good price with good features, and that's it. So it's like Quest 3 looks really compelling.
And it's compatible with Steam VR. Go ahead, Rich.
I was this close to that exact scenario, right? Because I was buying into the hype with people thinking that Valve would announce something during the MetaConnect, because that's what they did back when, I forget which device was announced, the Rift S. So basically Valve did the same thing where they announced something at the same time that something else was being announced, and people bought into myself included, bought into the hype that they would do that again. Now with the Deckard and with Steam VR 2 beta launching. And so I was hyped enough for a Deckard that at the end of the Meta Connect, or at the end of their presentation for the Quest 3, I was like, I think I'll just buy this. I took a minute and I didn't end up buying it, but I was really close to pulling the trigger. Part of the reason I didn't buy it is because I knew I would have to get the Legion Go. So I'm like, I'm not going to spend $1,200 in 2 weeks. That's just insane.
And you, Russ, did you pick it up, or are you picking it up or thinking of it?
No, I'm still in that wait and see kind of phase. You know, I'm interested in VR and whatnot, but it's just, I want to wait until everything's like good. Like, I don't want to be the guy who's like testing things as they're rolling out. I want to wait till that moment where like, okay, now VR is great. This is the one you got to get because this one's the clear winner. Like, I'm going to wait for that moment still. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. It's like, I have the PSVR 2. I like it a lot, but the whole thing about it having a cord and being hooked up to my PS5 is an issue, especially because this room is very small, and this, like, the desk that I'm sitting at is huge. And like when we built this room, Like none of the VR stuff was on my mind. So like the thing about the Quest 3 is that it's a standalone system, and if I wanted to, I could just take it down to, like, we have a home gym, you know, with like a big open space and a treadmill and the weights and stuff, and I could just move the bench out of the way and wave my hands around like a moron in there and have an absolute blast. I can't do that with my PSVR 2, but I could do that with the MetaQuest 3. But the thing that holds me back on the MetaQuest 3 is, yeah, it's more powerful and it's great, and it's got these nice pancake lenses that are nice and smooth and don't have the little ridges on them, and all that stuff is great. But my PC is old. And so if I want to get the most out of it, I'd have to upgrade I'd have to replace the graphics card and maybe the CPU in my computer, and I'm just not ready to do that at this point. So I have not ordered that. And, you know, secondly, because I bought the Legion Go for, you know, for the channel, I think that if I made a video about MetaQuest, it probably wouldn't perform as well. And so I got to decide, where am I going to be spending my money? I got to spend my money on something that's going to help. So I ended up going with the Legion Go instead. But I am interested in the MetaQuest 3, and I'm interested in what Steam VR is, because like it's this other interface that you can basically do with, what would you call it, Carrie, where you do it wirelessly?
The one it's Oculus Air Link.
And so does that use Steam VR when you do the Oculus Air Link, and it just connects to Steam and lets you ignore Facebook's nonsense?
Yes, exactly. Right. So you basically need to have Oculus software up and running first. So you're in Oculus's thing, but then when you launch Steam VR, it supersedes, and then you jump into Steam VR wirelessly, which is how we've been doing it. And that's how my son actually has to play Roblox. He actually has to initiate Steam VR first, and then we play Roblox. So there, you know, Steam VR has a bunch of features where it's easier to kind of track what the, you know, it sees the headset, it sees the controller, so you have a better interface of what's available to the machine insofar as what the link is showing and suggesting is initiated and active. So Steam VR, even prior to 2.0, was always been fantastic with Oculus Air Link. So as far as I'm concerned, it is a PC headset that also can function by itself. For me, I think one of that Roblox functionality is killer, because there's going to be a lot of kids, even for Quest 2, that are going to want to play. Like, it's a bunch of so there's a thing on Roblox called VR Hands. And it's the coolest thing. So there are kids that play VR Hands in Roblox. If they don't have a VR headset, they're basically like little people that are like running around trying to escape the people with VR hands that are giants that can like pick them up and like yeet them off of like the level and stuff. And they're just, that's all it is. So like it's just a big sandbox of like giants that are the VR people versus the people that are on desktop or whatever, just trying to escape. It's a lot of, like, I see my kid playing, and I enjoy just watching him play. So I think that's a bit of a hidden killer app for Quest once that actually happens. So we'll see what happens, I suppose.
You know, one of the things.
Go ahead, Russ. I'm sorry.
I was just going to mention, you know, with Steam VR 2, again, I'm an outside looking in kind of guy, but I looked at all their like promo materials, and I mentioned this in our chat. They show like the Steam VR 2 interface and how wonderful and up to date and all these things it is, but they only show 2 games on the main screen, like as their like promo, like look at how advanced and we are and all that stuff. And it was Half-Life Alyx and Beat Saber, and I was just like, come on, like that says so much about the VR industry right now, is that like you still have to show older titles and just with a fancier packaging. And like let's get to the point where there is some sort of like, I mean, I really do want to play Alyx, but all the same, like that's the only killer game I want to play right now. I need to get to that point where it's enough to get me to buy a console, and it's just not there yet.
I saw a lot of similar criticism. I'm not familiar with like all the different, other than what you just said, right? I'm not familiar with all the different killer apps or whatever for VR, but I saw a lot of the same criticism for MetaConnect, where people were just saying they're just showing off the same game. So there's not much reason to pick up a Quest 3 if you already have a Quest 2. And, you know, we've said it before, but there was a tweet, I think, from a VR content creator, but they were like how that person, they knew they had 15 friends, and of those 15 friends, seven of them have a Quest 2, but basically no one still uses it for the same reasons. Just a lot of friction to have to put it on, and to have to it's a lot to get to the point where you're actually playing the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with the PlayStation VR. Like, I that Horizon game looks great, but I still got to play through Forbidden West. Like, I got time, and so there's just nothing that's compelling me to invest in any of those hardware right now. So,
well, this last thing about the MetaQuest 3 that I thought was really weird is that it's going to have Xbox Cloud gaming built in, not built in. Like, you'll be able to play that. I can't imagine, okay, I have the PSVR 2, and I've tried some of the, as VR people usually say, flat games on that. So basically it makes like a big screen in front of you. And I did not feel like that was a compelling experience in the least. Would any of, if you had one, would you bother using Xbox Cloud gaming? You would, Carrie. Talk about why. Convince me.
Oh, so I've reviewed some XR glasses, and I've used Xbox xCloud on that or other stuff on there, and there is something to be said for a private home theater that you're putting on your face. You're not bothering anyone else near you or around you. There's no sound pollution going to them. You have your own occupied space. If the kids are using the family TV, this is why people play on handhelds, because it's another device. So this is, in effect, a personal home theater for yourself, that even when you think about laying down and you don't want to bother your spouse with whatever, there are reasons why you would want to entertain using these types of things. So having xCloud support built into it by itself and easy to get into, I think is something that's worthwhile. And the only reason that I think it exists at all is just because Facebook and Microsoft have a long history together, where they just had a mutual respect for each other. So that's more than likely the reason why it exists at all. But yeah, for me, I think I've been a big fan of xCloud only because Microsoft has done all the work to seamlessly share saves. If I was playing on xCloud and I could not play on PC and Xbox, xCloud would be useless. Like, not being able to have my save instantly transfer back and forth means that I wouldn't use it at all, because I don't consider cloud gaming to be anything other than supplementary and something that is rapid, right? So I like xCloud for just that reason. And having it be on the Oculus Quest 3, I find it to be the same thing as all those XR glasses like Nreal or why is the other name escaping me right now?
Viture.
Yeah, Viture. The Viture ones. They have the headband. They have a neckband that attaches to it, which is the whole MR experience that you're supposed to wear. So these glasses you can see through, and then you could also, not that I think that's possible right now, because no one should be doing that, but it's the same type of thing. The headset has everything built into it. You're running solo, so the device is running by itself. I think it's worthwhile.
No, so for me, I've got the Nreal glasses or Xreal glasses here. This is a lot different than putting on a VR headset to me. This is very unintrusive. Whereas with a VR headset, I got a thing that's all the way around my head, and I, clamp down the thing on the back, and then I put on I don't necessarily have to put the headphones on, because I think the Quest 3 has built-in speakers.
They fire into your.
This is a very different ask than putting on a whole thing. But if it works for you, or if it works for anybody else out there, that's an awesome win for you. These, I think, are cool because they're so lightweight, and they're going to keep getting lighter. But
Should
for a
we all
VR
put
headset
on-
to do...
I hope all of us put on.
Yeah, should we all put on our XR glasses for the thumbnail?
Mine are in the other room.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to. It's mine. Mine's over there somewhere. There's just
That's too funny.
Future so bright.
Yeah, the way I see it,
shades.
the way I see it with the VR stuff is if it's just a feature in something you've already bought for other reasons, then it makes sense.
Yep.
But I'm with you, Bill. I would get an immediate headache if I tried to watch a movie or do whatever with a full VR headset on. It's just I don't know. I got a little baby neck or something. I can't hold up that weight for long, But the X-Real glasses, I use them all the time, and so. it's one of those where, yeah, I don't buy the Quest 3 for that feature, but if you already have the Quest 3, then it might be something you could incorporate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Look at the price of the X Reels versus the price of the Quest 3, right? Like, it's how big of a difference are we talking about? Like $100?
I don't remember. How much is the X Reels?
They're like $400 retail.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a really good point then, Carrie.
Yeah, so like you're spending $100 extra, and the Quest 3 has a very good Snapdragon chipset in it that has its own operating system that runs. You don't have to attach it to something else. You just put it on your head and you start going, and there's nothing else to attach. So I agree with you guys. I'm not saying that either one is better. I think they both have their different use cases, and it's great that everyone has a choice. So for me, I would consider it, but I'm buying it for my son, so I'm really just going to be like looking at it and saying, oh, this is pretty cool, and then just giving it to my son and probably never using mostly because I'm like with you guys, right? Like, it says a lot, like Russ says, that if your best VR stuff is stuff that's already been out forever, like, you got to stop showing Beat Saber, guys. Like, stop showing it, because if that's the only thing you got, which is very entertaining, however, it shows a problem that the VR landscape has for themselves.
It's like, hey, buy the newest Xbox. They can play Rock Band. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, that was a clip from the latest episode of the Nerd Nest podcast. If you enjoyed it, you might enjoy watching the entire episode, which I've got linked down below. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. And from the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.